very much. Thank you. Wow.
That was one of the best reactions we've had all
Yeah,
tonight.
that was nice.
More popular than Piers Morgan, certainly. I'll say that much.
What a hard act to follow.
Well, we shall see. So as usual, I'll start off with a few questions. We'll jump around a bit through various different topics, and then I'll open it up to the floor. And yeah, get ready with your questions. So we'll start off with quite a broad topic, the nature of satire. So you often get criticised for some of your more controversial pieces of satire.
Wait, we're starting with criticism?
Well,
I thought we'd ease into it, you know, something nice. No, I'm kidding.
I've got to work with the material I have, I suppose.
Okay. Yes.
Do you think that satire should have boundaries, either morally or legally? And if so, where should they be drawn?
Well, boundaries, that's a good question. I don't think there should be boundaries based on fear. Taste, maybe. There's no point in making a joke about a senseless tragedy unless there's some larger point to be made. So that's the only thing that would stop me. And I think being criticized for the satire you do is a healthy thing. If you're not upsetting some people, you're not really being brave. If everyone likes you, you have never said anything true. Anytime you speak the truth, some people are going to hate you. In America, at one time or another, everyone has hated me. And it's funny, you know, a lot of people, if you read the Twitter feed, you know, or comment sections, if I make fun of the Catholics, they're like, how dare you make fun of the Catholics? Why don't you ever say anything about the Muslims? And if I make fun of the Muslims, how dare you make fun of the Muslims? Why don't you ever say anything about the Catholics? They don't realize that I make fun of everybody. They just hear what they don't like about their own people.
So you're talking about Twitter in particular. How do you deal with that? Do you ever engage with trolls on Twitter or anything like that?
No, I used to. I'm not engaged, but I at least used to read it, and then it was so depressing that there are so many people who obviously have nothing better to do in their life than to just sit there and say something horrific about nothing. I could tweet good morning, and the first 10 would be, how dare you, Bill Maher, you don't know anything about morning. Ronald Reagan invented morning, and you have no right to even talk about morning. It's incredible. And I don't know if, did anybody see that Barack Obama opened his own personal Twitter account a few days ago? And the headline in the New York Times was, Obama's Twitter account met with a barrage of racist comments, which I would characterize as the predictable headline of 2015. So there's the President of the United States, one of the most accomplished people we've ever had, first black president, and of course the first umpteen comments on Twitter when he joins are, you know, go hang yourself, N-word, you know, just horrible shit. So. But that's Twitter, you know. It's funny because in all the years I've been doing this and all the controversial things I've said, the number of people, actual people, who've come up to me and stuck a finger in my face and say, you know what I hate? Like 2. But with the anonymity of Twitter, oh, everyone's a critic.
Everyone is brave.
They're so brave on Twitter.
And talking about headlines, I told you segue was going to be a bit poor, but a Telegraph article yesterday said that your comedy was mockery masquerading as intellectualism. Do you think that's fair? I imagine you
Who
don't.
said this?
But how, I'm not going to drop names. You can look that up on Google, I think. But how would you respond to that?
I don't know what he's referring to. I don't know how well he knows my work, and I will fuck him up. No. No. I mean, you can't please everybody. I mean, again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if everybody thinks you're pretty good, you're probably very bland, and I wouldn't be a fan, probably. Yeah, am I a polarizing figure? Yes, but that's okay. When I started doing my first show, Politically Incorrect, there was no political satire on TV in America. It was the most toxic subject. America was so turned off to politics in general that everybody said, why are you doing a show about politics? No one's going to watch that. And we never had a host who shared, a TV host who shared his political opinions. The conventional wisdom was, if you do that, you will alienate half the audience. You'll never stay on the air. And I said, let's give it a try. Let's see. Maybe people can hear opinions they don't agree with and still be okay with you, just like you do in life. I don't have to agree with what everybody says. So I think sometimes the people are more sophisticated than the media. That guy in particular. No, I'm kidding.
I'll give you his name afterwards. So one of the things that polarizes people, you have publicly expressed your support for legalization of cannabis.
Who could possibly be against that?
So would you extend that to any other harder drugs? And if
Absolutely.
not,
I think all drugs should be legal. It's a medical problem. Legal and available here. No, it's a medical problem. If you have a problem with it, it should not be the province of law enforcement. The idea of putting people in jail because they get addicted to a substance is insane. And of course, it has spawned in our country this horrible drug war. It's inflated the prison population. America puts more people in prison per capita than I think any other country in the world. And of course, it also wound up ballooning a bureaucracy. We have a drug enforcement agency, and anytime you make a cops and robbers situation out of drugs, a lot of people are going to profit. There's a lot of money in that. It's why police departments in our country look like armies now. They have helicopters and they have armored personnel vehicles and practically tanks rolling down the streets. This is insanity. And a lot of it is because of the drug war. There's also a racist aspect to it. Disproportionately, the number of people who are arrested and sentenced for drug use are poor, black, Hispanic. It's been a giant disaster for going on 50 years now that we've been fighting this drug war. It took us almost 60 to get over embargoing Cuba. Maybe this will be the next domino to fall.
we shall see.
Yay, America, for being late on everything.
Should we get someone with an applause sign going around?
Yeah.
Your comments concerning Islam also often cause controversy. In your own words, not that you would use anyone else's, I don't think, what do you think is a relationship, if any, between Islamic theology and Islamic fundamentalism?
Well, there is connecting tissue, much of it, between Islamic theology and Islamic fundamentalism. I mean, all religions, I think the Bible is certainly an example of this, have fundamentalism in them. It's just that Western religions have been around longer, Christianity and Judaism, and they have learned to ignore what the Holy Book says. The Bible says crazy shit too. We just don't follow it. But the Bible very clearly says, if you see your neighbor working on Sunday, kill him. How many have ever seen their neighbor working on Sunday and thought, I really should go over there and kill him after lunch? We just don't do that. You know, as many, many commentators have said, Islam needs a reformation and an enlightenment the way Christianity had one. I mean, Europe certainly knows about holy wars. In the 16th century, Protestant and Catholic were slaughtering each other across this continent. When we see Shiite and Sunni kill each other, it's a very similar situation. So, you know, I always say I'm the liberal in this debate. I'm for liberal philosophy, I'm for liberal principles, and those certainly include tolerance. I am not bigoted against any person, any religion. I am against principles that are illiberal. Freedom of speech, I'm for that. Freedom of assembly, respect for minorities, equality of women, rule of law. These things are not just different from their opposites, they are superior in my view. Hey. And you don't have to agree, but if you think that theocracy is just different than rule of law, you just can't call yourself a liberal.
We'll move now to a topic that you're most known for, American politics, obviously. And we'll talk a bit about the 2016 election in America. So who do you think will receive the Republican and Democrat nominations?
Well, the Democrat, unless something untoward happens, will be Hillary Clinton. I mentioned a minute ago, America is often late on everything. And we certainly have been late to the party on having a woman leader. I think 80 countries in the world have had a woman leader, not the United States of us. But this looks like the year it's going to happen. There is a welled-up thirst for a female president in America, and Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, former First Lady, former, I think she was the valedictorian at Wesleyan, first woman on the moon. That would be the betting money would be on Hillary Clinton. The Republican field is wide open, and there are already 6 declared Republican candidates, and we're a year and a half away. I know in this country you must think that's insane, and you would be correct. Your elections last how long?
The actual campaign?
Yeah.
Oh, it's about 6 weeks? Is it
6 weeks, which is the exact right amount of time. That's what you need. You don't need more than that. Maybe that's too much. Just tell people what you think, let them ask questions for a couple of weeks, and that's it. We have this perpetual campaign in America. The election never stops. So like I say, 6 candidates already in the field, and we'll see. But before it's all said and done, there will probably be at least twice that many.
Wow. So then that leads to the next question. Who's going to become president?
Well, like I say, I think Hillary Clinton certainly is the one you would have to bet on, because in my country, Congress is stacked for the Republican Party because we do something called gerrymandering, which means, you know what gerrymandering is? Oh, yeah, American? Okay. Gerrymandering is instead of the voters picking the politicians pick the voters. In other words, they draw the district on the map. I mean, this word gerrymandering comes from the 18th century when a legislator named Elbridge Gerry redrew a district so that the voters he wanted were in that district and his party would get elected. And he drew it in such a strange way, it looked like a salamander. But some wag said, not a salamander, a gerrymander. And that's where the phrase comes from. So because of that, the Republicans have rigged the game and they control Congress. But for the White House, it's because demographically our country has shifted a lot in the last 20 years from a pretty much majority white. Now it's about 70% white. Many more women vote than used to vote, many more Hispanics. It's kind of hard for the conservative to win the White House in this current atmosphere. Now, of course, we have horrible turnout. America is 120th in the world in voter turnout. It's disgusting. We take our democracy completely for granted. But even with those odds, you'd have to always bet on the Democrat for the White House in this era. And again, Hillary Clinton, there's just such a pent-up thirst to finally have a woman leader that I think, you know, unless something we can't foresee happens, and with the Clintons, that's always possible. You know, we could have another bimbo eruption from Bill. That's happened before. You don't know how, and then that usually would work in Hillary's favor, because in the past when Bill has cheated, she has been the recipient of a great deal of sympathy. So that could help. Not that Bill needs a lot of encouragement to start cheating, but I think Hillary Clinton is going to be our president.
That's some stellar campaign advice there, I think. But in 2008, you publicly and financially supported Barack Obama.
Correct.
But you said you won't do the same for Hillary Clinton?
Well, no. I did support him financially in 2008, but here's the deal. In 2008, the maximum you could give to a candidate was $2,300. In 2012, the maximum you could give was infinity. So I thought that was kind of a big jump that we took, because they changed the law. Our Supreme Court, in their completely finite wisdom, passed this law, which we call Citizens United. It's too complicated why it's called that, but there was a movie, literally a documentary they were ruling on, but the effect of the ruling was that corporations, unions, foreign entities, people we don't know who it is, can donate unlimited amounts of money to what they call a PAC, which is basically somebody who's working for the candidate but not the candidate themselves. It is a distinction without a difference. The effect is that candidates now raise as much money as they want from billionaires. So when I gave $1 million to Obama, it was a way of saying to the liberals who were missing this boat completely, if you don't start giving on the $1 million level, this race is going to be lost, because most of the billionaires, of course, are for the Republicans. So I think it helped a lot, at least get that word out, and some of the rich, there are less rich liberal people, but you know, most of the rich liberals are in my state of California. They're either in Silicon Valley or they're in Hollywood.
So you're not giving money to Hillary Clinton because of who she
doesn't
is?
need my money.
She doesn't need your money, that's why.
No,
okay.
She don't need my money. She got a lot of money, and and I mean, I like Hillary Clinton, but I don't like her as much as I do Obama. And I thought,
why is that?
Well, she's more of a centrist. The Clintons, I don't worry if Hillary Clinton became president that she's going to blow up the world like I worry Republicans would. But she and her husband are centrist. They took the Democratic Party, which should be the liberal party in our country, much toward the center, away from where they should be on the left. America really has no left party. We have a center-right party, which I would call what the Democrats are now, and then we have the Republicans, a party that drove the crazy bus straight into Nuttown. And they moved the goalposts so far to the right that what seems like the liberal point of view is really the old conservative point of view. For example, Obamacare. Obamacare, which the conservatives hate as something socialist, and it's hardly socialist, it's still profit run, that 20 years ago, that was the Republican plan. When Hillary Clinton was the first lady, when put in charge of trying to get health care passed, that was basically the plan the Republicans wanted, which is what Obamacare is today. Now, today, that's somehow a very liberal plan. Or something like what we call cap and trade, a way of controlling pollution. Cap and trade was something the Republicans favored 20 years ago. It was a way of basically selling off pollution rights. Again, a market-driven solution. Wouldn't be my solution, but as a compromise, okay. Now they don't even like that. That's the Democrat plan now, cap and trade. And the Republican attitude about global warming is it isn't happening. Seriously, that's what they say. Our entire Republican Senate believes that global warming is a hoax. And if you ask them why, they say because last winter it snowed. There was a senator brought a snowball into Congress, as if to say, deal with that. Snowed that's their, it's like saying the sun isn't real because last night it got dark. Thank you.
So if you were to look back on the Obama administration,
Yeah.
how would you review it?
Pretty good. I mean, I have some quibbles. But considering what he was up against, I mean, they said right from the get-go they wouldn't work with him at all, and they didn't. Even when they themselves proposed something, this happened over and over again. The Republicans would propose something, when Obama would agree, then they didn't want to do it. Once President Blackenstein touched it, it had cooties and they couldn't go near it. So he had a harder row to hoe than almost any president I can ever think of. And even still, I mean, the big accomplishment right off the bat, we were on the brink of a depression. I think we would have had one if he didn't do what he did. He got Obamacare passed. We have been trying to pass some form of universal health care in this country going back 100 years to Teddy Roosevelt. He finally got it done. Saved the automobile industry when that was on the brink, and Mitt Romney famously wanted to let them die on the vine. He's been not great on environmental issues, but he still has been the best president ever on environmental issues. And, you know, he just has a way of sort of going down the list of stupid things and ticking them off. You know, gay marriage, okay, he came around on that. Opening up Cuba, came around on that. I'm hoping before the end of his second term that he will come around on weed. And I think, no, I think that could be the next shoe to drop. I totally understand why the first black president couldn't do that in his first term. You know, you just can't, you know, give a, I have a blunt speech. You know, that just was not going to, that was not going to work. But
so that's the next thing.
It could be. I'm just guessing. He has a way of, you know, I will get on his case about something, and then like 2 years later, it'll happen. So
you're the one causing all the change in America.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's my role to be out front. I don't have to deal with all the things he does. But yeah, I mean, I was on his case about gay marriage in the beginning, and he came around on that. And so yeah, that I could definitely see him doing that before he gets out the door.
Now some people say,
because you know he smoked a lot of weed himself, which he admits. You know, when he was in college, wink, wink. He was, you know, they had what they called the Choom gang there in Hawaii. He smoked a lot of weed. So he knows that it certainly doesn't prevent you from making something of yourself.
That's true. How many slang words do you know for weed? Choom gang is one I've never heard before.
Choom gang, that was his you know, little group that smoked pot. I don't know what that means, but apparently the dope was pretty good.
Moving away from weed. Some people say that Hillary Clinton is too old to be president.
Ooh.
Do you think that could be possibly true?
You should boo that. Ooh,
no, boo them.
Yeah. No, I mean, she's 67, I think. She would be 69, I think, when she's inaugurated. Reagan was exactly the same age. Don't go by that, because he was too old. But, you know, first of all, I think that's very ageist. As someone who's 59, I know that's like 10 years away from me. So I don't want to be looking at a world where that's too old to do shit. And it's not. I mean, some people are old when they're 40, and then there are people who are 100 who are spry. So she's definitely not too old. And also, you know, we have a rule in our Constitution, you have to be at least 35 to be elected president. And this was written at a time when people lived to be about 38. This was written in 1787. Life expectancy was not that long then. So they understood that maturity is what we want in someone who's a president. So I'm all for someone being on in years when they get to be president. I want them to have seen as much as they possibly could of this world and to have the wisdom to do this job in the way it needs to be done. Because it's kind of an important job, you know.
So do you think the minimum age should be raised then?
The what?
The minimum age, do you think that should
No, I don't think, I think 35 is about right. I'm just saying that was something the founding fathers really foresaw.
Moving on, obviously it's still quite topical here in this country about the general election that we had here. So are there any elements of the UK politics which you think American politics should adopt?
Well, you know, that's interesting. One of our Supreme Court judges, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was asked a few years ago about our Constitution, and she said, you know, if we were starting from scratch, we would probably be better off having a parliamentary system. Well, you can imagine how well this went over with the conservatives in America. It was like she farted in Jesus' face. I mean, how dare you say anything about our perfect system? But I think that's probably right. I mean, a parliamentary system is a little more flexible. I mean, we get stuck with somebody. You don't have to get stuck with somebody. When they lose popularity, they call elections. The guy can go away and the party can stay in power. this seems preferable to what we have, which is if a guy's really bad, all we can do is impeach him, and that doesn't happen a lot. But having said that, I must say, House of Lords sounds like a gay bar. I'm just putting that out there. It's just really.
I believe that's the unofficial motto. In your own view, what is the role of Her Majesty the Queen to the political life of the United Kingdom?
What is the role of what?
Her Majesty the Queen.
Well, first of all, Her Majesty, I object to that. I once had on my show Queen Noor, are you familiar? The Queen of Jordan. And they said to me, you have to call her Your Highness. And I said, I'm not calling any other human being Your Highness. And I told her when she came out, I said, I respect you like I respect any other human being, but I'm not going to call another human being Your Highness. If anybody's Highness, it should be me. No, I didn't say that. I should have said that, but I didn't say that. But yeah, it's just a ridiculous anachronism that we elevate another person based on bloodline. This is 2015. We're... Thank you. So it's funny, I was having this discussion just the other day with somebody, and they said, well, yeah, but if you were offered a knighthood, no, I wouldn't. Not that I'm going to be offered a knighthood, but I would turn it, if I had to say Your Highness to another human being, no, you can keep your knighthood. I don't need it that bad. I just think there's something terrible about that.
So, do you know who you would have voted for in our general election then?
When I came, I'm doing this little comedy tour here. I played the Apollo Hammersmith or the other way around in London. Was it last night or I don't know? Traveling, whatever night it was, and Amsterdam, and we're going to Sweden, and people said, "Oh, you're going to study up on the different politics of those countries." And I said, I just think I'm out of my depth there. I think what I do best is go to Europe and explain the dysfunctional nature of American politics. That's my expertise. They don't need me to talk about their politics. I'm sure they have people in their own countries who can do that better and know it better. So I really don't know. I mean, in general, I'm generally for the liberal as opposed to the conservative. But your conservatives are not like our conservatives. They're not fucking nuts. Here, I mean, what I've read from American columnists talking about the austerity program was that it was not the right way to go economically after the crash. That we had a stimulus program and our economy came out better. But I don't know, you have different issues and you have more, a little more socialism, which I don't think is a bad word. I mean, conservatives hate socialism. They have no idea what it is. They just know it's something super bad, like atheism or pedophilia or something like that. They just know it's horrible, when of course every modern economy is quasi-socialist. So I don't know, but Cameron, he doesn't seem like a fire breather.
Fair. So moving on to the last couple of questions from me, and then we'll open up to the audience. So you're an honorary board member of PETA's.
Yeah, PETA.
PETA.
People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
So why did you choose to work with that organization specifically?
I like animals.
Right.
I'm not that crazy about people, but I love animals. No, I think that's an issue that's coming to the fore, and people can have legitimate disagreements about, for example, eating meat or wearing leather. I eat meat occasionally. I wear leather occasionally. I believe in what that title says, people for the ethical treatment of animals. It doesn't mean you never kill an animal. They kill each other. But factory farming is unethical. While they're alive, we don't need to torture them.
Comprehensive. Thank you.
Boy, people really... Now let's go fox hunting. Let's take 1,000 dogs and chase a fox. What could be more fun?
Not much, it would seem. Thank you very much, Bill. We will now open it up to the audience. So if you have a question, please put your hand high in the air, and then Callum will come round and give you the microphone. So what we'll do is we'll start here, right at the front.
Hello, I'm a massive fan.
Thank you.
If there was a God, you'd be one of them, for me. You're not obviously a great fan of American society. If you could import a certain culture or way of life, which country or area, because I choose sort of Scandinavia as to go ahead, perfect society on this planet, and you sort of see America's future, you know, as bright, because socially you have progress with gay marriage and even with marijuana, which we haven't done much with here in Britain.
Well, I guess the best of all worlds would be to eclectically take from each society what works best. I certainly know Europeans in America who came to America because they felt that where they lived was not affording them the economic opportunity that they wanted. You know, in Canada, they say they cut down the tall trees. I've heard that from other people too. I know French people, I know British people in America who say, yeah, I like the economic freedom that America affords me. Of course, the downside for us is that it's sort of a winner-take-all system we have, especially now. Our income inequality is horrible and getting worse. We don't really take care of everybody. It's not an every man for himself system. We elevate greed to a level I don't think any other country does. So we are coming along on the social issues. We are becoming a little more like an enlightened Western European democracy now, with matters like pot, like you say, gay marriage, immigration even. You know, I think the politicians haven't come around, but people are getting the idea that we should embrace the immigrants and not, in my country, what we do to Mexicans is terrible. They do the jobs Americans will not do. And they've proven this. They take care of our children, they pick crops, they do everything we don't want to do, and we seem to do nothing but be cruel to them. So I think in a lot of ways America is becoming a more enlightened, kinder, gentler nation, but we have a long way to go. And I think the root of it all is greed. We just worship the almighty dollar way, way too much. And until we get over that, we're never going to truly become the society that they had envisioned 239 years ago.
Hi, I just want to ask you, obviously none have been able to say it because it would be political suicide, but do you think America may have already had an atheist president?
An atheist president? Oh, you know, yes, I always think Obama's a closet atheist. I mean, of course, again, as the first black president, he had to pretend he was super Christy. And he and he does at every turn. He once told an interviewer that he gets scripture sent to him on his BlackBerry first thing in the morning. That's the first thing he sees is scripture. I really don't think that's the first thing he sees in the morning. His mother, his mother, he always says, was a secular humanist, wink, wink, atheist. And I think that's what he is, a secular humanist. But we certainly understand why in America, not only Barack Obama, but no politician can ever run for office and profess anything but profound faith. I mean, it bothers me to no end that politicians have to, unlike, I'm sure, this country and most European countries, not only wear their faith on their sleeve, but pretend it's a virtue. You often hear them say, yes, I'm a person of great faith. I let faith decide many things for me. I'm influenced by my faith, and people applaud like this is a great thing. And I always want to say, why doesn't somebody ask the follow-up question, which is, why is faith good? Just tell me why the purposeful suspension of critical thinking is a good thing. Very often they ask a candidate when he's running, he or she, what would you do in a crisis? And the guy always says, well, the first thing I would do is say a prayer. Great. What a relief to know that when the missiles are in the air and seconds count, your first move is to try to telepathically communicate with your imaginary friends. So yes, he's an atheist. Oh.
How do you think countries outside of the US should deal with the US on the question of climate? It's easy to poke fun at Inhofe and his snowball, but it's actually quite a serious issue. And if you have a look at sort of the recalcitrance, if you like, of the US in climate negotiations, it's sort of getting beyond a joke. I mean, what do the rest of us do about that?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I mean, what can you do? I mean, you can't attack us. You can't really boycott us economically. I guess they could try that, but I don't know if that would do anything. I don't know. Enjoy the earth while you have it. You know, what politicians in America always have said in the past is, why should we do anything? Because India and China, they're not doing anything. They're just coming online. These people all want cars and air conditioning and meat, things that they haven't enjoyed in the past. How can we deny them? We've had our fun with the earth. But, you know, there won't be any more earth unless we do something. I'm always amazed at the human capacity to not make fundamental changes, but instead merely adapt. I see these pictures of people in Beijing and New Delhi walking around with masks on because you can't walk outside your house and breathe. If you can't breathe, if that's not the cue to make a fundamental change, I don't know what is. And we're killing all the sea life. You know, they say there'll be no fish left in the ocean in 40 years. You know, we'll be wearing masks and eating jellyfish and cockroaches. I mean, I didn't want to live in this world. I don't know. I don't know what has to happen, and I sure don't know how to move America on it. Sorry.
We'll start talking about it now, and then Obama will sort it out in 2 years' time.
What's that?
If you start talking about it now, then Obama will sort it out in 2 years' time, right? That's
well, you know, Obama did make a deal with China recently. Of course, it's a deal that the environmentalists are divided on because on the one hand, it's better than nothing. We never had anything. On the other hand, China doesn't have to, I think, do anything for another 15 years. And by then, they'll have built dozens more coal-fired plants. It's insane, especially since we have clean energy right up there. It's called the sun. I know you don't see it a lot here, but trust me, it's up there.
Why is it that you think that America is kind of, or Americans are more susceptible to kind of conspiracy theories, like the 9/11 conspiracy theory, and kind of like Scientology and things like that?
Is Scientology a conspiracy theory?
I was talking to you before. You have a very thick accent. What?
Do you want to repeat the question?
Shall I say the question?
Speak English.
No,
Speak American like a normal person.
I was just wondering why you think Americans seem more susceptible to conspiracy theories.
Oh.
Like 9/11, Michael
Sure.
Moore, and kind of Scientology
Oh, sure,
and
I
things
can
like
answer that. Yeah, because we're stupider. That's happened. I mean, I could gild the lily there, but that's the basic answer, yeah. I mean, we're a much younger country, you know. I think countries, you can make the analogy to people. Older ones are wiser and more sophisticated. Sometimes they can be more jaded for that reason, too. I mean, America has exuberance. You can't knock us for that. But we are just, as countries go, we're kind of in our teenage years. We're young, dumb, and full of cum. And is this too dirty for this? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay. This isn't Christ College, is it? Oh my God. You know, I just don't think we have the sophistication. And as far as conspiracy theories themselves go, yes, they're very susceptible to that. Because, as I always say about our politicians, the politicians can say anything because the people don't know anything. And if they don't know anything, you don't hold their feet to the fire. For example, they're lately asking all the Republican candidates on the news about ISIS. And several of them have said things like, if I was president, I'd take them out. Take them out. What does that mean? You drop a nuke on them? Of course, and of course they can say that because people have no idea about what's going on there. So it just sounds, oh, he'd take them out. Good for him. Yeah, that's how you handle them. You just take them out. So, you know, that's what we're up against in my country, is trying to get the right person in office. When you get somebody good like Obama there, it's sometimes just dumb luck that that happened that way. You know, people really didn't listen to what he said. He was different, he was new, he was an amazing speaker. He inspired people with slogans like hope and yes we can. But people didn't know much beyond that. It just turned out that he was a guy who actually had something to say beyond with the slogans.
Hello. I was wondering if your stance on drugs made you more of a libertarian than a liberal, and that ironically it made you more of a Republican than a Democrat.
Well, I mean, I am a libertarian in the sense that I believe in the basic libertarian credo, which is that anybody should be able to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't hurt or affect another human being. Certainly drugs would be in that category. Now, there's this idea I think some people have that Republicans are libertarians. They are not. There is one libertarian Republican. His name is Rand Paul. His father's was Ron Paul, who ran for president last time. He's running for president this time. He's already gone back on all his libertarian views in order to try to garner the nomination. So it's really not a very popular thing. Republicans, they like to think of themselves as libertarian because it has the word liberty in it, but they're not. They're really not. They're authoritarians. They talk a lot about freedom. They don't want freedom. They want an authoritarian government that agrees with them and punishes people they don't like. There.
Hi, mine is actually a quick follow-up question on the previous one. So when you talk about making drugs legal, we see in Colorado now that it has had some effect on traffic accidents and such. And how do you sort of, shouldn't we try to make everything sort of safer as opposed to legalize things that might make things more dangerous?
Well, the safest place in the world is a police state. If you want utter safety, there are ways to do it. If you want no one to do drugs, do what they do in Saudi Arabia, kill people who use them. This is not the answer. And if we're going to do that, we would at least need to be uniform and not hypocrites about it, which would mean we would have to outlaw alcohol too. Certainly people can get fucked up and then get in a car and hurt people. But you don't outlaw the drug, you outlaw the crime itself. I mean, I think that's only reasonable. Boy, they really are interested in the drugs here. I noticed that that's, of all the topics that have seemed to have caught on with the crowd, drugs seems to be a recurring theme. So, yeah.
Hello. My question is around what America exports to the world. America exports a lot of things, and one of them seems to be democracy. And I don't think, well, my point of view on this is that maybe democracy doesn't work across all types of countries, especially countries which have an embedded religion that is outside of that of Christianity. What is your view on that?
I think I heard all of it, and I think I agree. I think America has to get over this idea that we are going to bring democracy to the Middle East if we have to kill every last one of them, because that seems to be what we are trying to do. I think America needs to get just out of every other country. Thank you, one person. You know, there was a time when the sun never set on the British Empire. And, you know, it's still a lovely country without the empire. And America was never supposed to have an empire. And empires are corrupting. Just read Julius Caesar. I think the reason we have so many troops all around the world is because it justifies our military budget. All the people in my country who pretend that they hate socialism, they have no objections to this billions and tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars money, government money wasted on building armaments we will never use and don't need. Most of it is built to fight the Soviet Union in about 1978. That's socialism, but it's the kind of socialism they like. Building roads and schools and bridges, that's bad socialism. But building missiles and tanks and fighter planes, we have a fighter plane now, the F-35. It's going to cost $1.5 trillion. It doesn't work. It cannot take it cannot fly in the rain. That's kind of a lot of money to spend on a plane that doesn't fly in the rain. So I think, yes, I would think America would do much better to stop just being there. I mean, ever since 9/11, they've been asking the question in my country, why do they hate us? Well, mostly because we're there. Just get out, you know? Leave people to themselves. Let them figure out their own problems and fight their own wars.
Do you think that political satire in America contributes to the polarization of political discourse insofar as like laughing at people and being laughed at makes people feel like they're part of sort of like one group or another? And is that a particular problem given that your own views sort of span the political parties and don't really fit into one neat category?
No, I'm pro-laughter. I think, first of all, laughter is an involuntary response. So when you make somebody laugh about something, somewhere inside of them they know that there's some truth into that because they're laughing. And everybody needs to laugh at themselves more. We take ourselves too seriously in my country. I don't know about yours. There's too many sacred cows, too much conventional wisdom, not enough questioning the conventional wisdom. No, not every joke is fair, you know? I mean, if I make a joke, or any American comedian about Asian people driving badly, everybody will laugh. Not every Asian drives badly, most. You know, if you make a joke about the French surrendering, everybody laughs, even though they really famously did it only once. You know, Hitler, you remember. If I make a joke about, you know, supermodels throwing up their food, everybody laughs. I'm sure not every supermodel is a bulimic, but, you know, we just have to accept that. Not every joke is completely fair. But what's more important is to laugh at yourself and just, you know, get on with it. In my country, whenever someone's offended, they used to just, oh, I don't like that, and go on with their life. Turn the dial, turn the page, put another quarter in the booth, whatever you're doing. Now they seem to like want to stop life, make the person go away. I got fired off a show once for something I said that people didn't like. It's okay, I landed in a better network, but you know, it's just crazy, this idea that you can't hear anything that upsets you, even for 5 seconds, without making a big deal out of it. Just get on with your life. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi. So as a liberal and a secularist and maybe a comedian, what are your views on polygamous marriage?
On what kind of marriage?
Polygamous marriage.
Polygamous marriage. I would have enough trouble with one. Well, I mean, you know, as a libertarian, whatever blows your dress up, I mean, if that's what people want to do, you know, I mean, the argument has always been in the past because Mormons in our country, you know, the Mormon religion comes from a polygamous history. Polygamy, by the way, also in the Bible, all the patriarchs were polygamous. King David had 1,000 wives, and they all complained. So, you know, if it's truly consensual, I think people should be able to, once again, do whatever they want to do. The Mormon argument about polygamy always was that in America there is a lot of disposing of people, and they're kind of right. You know, you're familiar with the saying trophy wife? That's, you know, a guy gets married when he's 25 or something and gets tired of his wife when he's 40 or 50 and dumps her and marries a younger version. That's the trophy wife. That happens a lot, and they're saying instead of putting this older person you were with for 20 years out to pasture and dumping her, keep her around. That's the polygamous way. I don't necessarily subscribe to it, but if that works for people, you know, I think when it comes to love especially, I don't think you make a lot of rules. Obviously you can't do it with children, that's wrong. But, you know, other than that, whatever people want to do, you know, Facebook has something like 56 different gender varieties. I don't even know how you could get up to that number. But whatever, man, woman, gay, transsexual, whatever Bruce Jenner's up to, you know, if you're lucky enough to have love knock on your door, I wouldn't ask a lot of questions.
Hi, I was just wondering your opinion of Fox News and how influential you think they are on the US public.
Fox News? Fox News is hugely influential. You cannot deny them that. But Fox News, what I call the alternative history channel, has not been good for America, because the problem is that about a third of the country gets all their information from Fox News, and they don't exactly tell the truth. So these people who live in a tremendous bubble of information, and that's all they hear, and there's something in the conservative mind that likes to have whatever they think they know be reinforced over and over and over again. This is why there is no real equivalent on the left, because liberals just, their brain isn't wired that way. We don't have to hear the same thing drummed into us over and over and over again. But the conservatives like that, and so global warming, great example. They think it's a hoax because they hear it all day on Fox News, and that's all they listen to. They get all their information from Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, a few of these conservative commentators. And so it's very hard to get information inside this bubble. So, for example, when we had our healthcare debate, one of the big Republican talking points was, why are we messing around with the greatest healthcare system in the world? And I always said, well, maybe because the UN ranks it 37th. But see, that's a fact, and facts don't get inside the bubble. Inside the bubble, we're number one, always and in everything.
So in America, how do we get away from this two-party system, you know, which is been a huge problem for us? How can we spread out so we can have more candidates that aren't sucking up some of these other side?
I don't think that's ever going to be possible in America. First of all, every time somebody tries to form a third party, it's absorbed by one of the other two parties. That's the history in our country. There is dissatisfaction with the two parties, tremendous dissatisfaction. But when a third party arises, whatever their platform is, if it becomes popular enough, it will be appropriated by one of the other two major parties. And it's just so ingrained in the way we think. You know, there's Coke and there's Pepsi, and there's the Democrats and the Republicans. We would have to have a completely different system. I'm someone who believes that the Constitution needs a page one rewrite. But the conservatives think that it was literally brought by Jesus. I mean, you think I'm joking. There is a painting that they all love where Jesus is, it's like giving the Constitution to Thomas Jefferson. I don't know if you're ever going to get past that. I mean, the idea that you could amend, I don't think we could ever even get a constitutional amendment anymore. Because the Constitution, again, like the Bible, something they've never actually read, they just know it's sacred and you can't screw with it. So, you know, I just don't foresee that happening.
Thank you. And for one last final question.
This better be a good one.
We'll go in the glasses there.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was going to say the
you were
same
thinking?
thing. It's going to be an awesome question. I can feel it. This guy totally has this covered.
Perhaps a more...
This guy has it. Yes, hit me with it, sir.
Perhaps a more specific question. Do you think the Obama's Iranian deal will make it through Congress and be successful? And if not, do you think war with Iran is inevitable?
Oh, good question. Scary question. See, I told you. I know how to pick them. Well, do I think the deal will go through? Yes, I think so, because now the Republicans made him sign a law which said that they get to shape the law. They felt left out, which they're supposed to be left out, by the way. The president makes treaties, not Congress. But we're living in a different era because, once again, the president is black. So there's different rules. So I think that they will pass something. The problem is, like what I said before, anything he does, they hate. This is actually a very good deal for us, a very good deal. And certainly a good deal if we're trying to stop Iran from building a bomb. The way they are now, they could have something in a far less amount of time than if they signed the treaty, because the treaty, I know it's not officially a treaty, whatever they're calling it, allows very intrusive inspections. It's exactly what you would want in such a treaty. If Ronald Reagan made this treaty, they would be jumping up and down to sign it. I hope that cooler heads will prevail. I don't think we'll go to war with Iran, but you have to understand that war is always a good issue for the conservatives in my country. They sure don't want to talk about the economy, because Obama turned that around. So they have nothing there. So their other ace in the hole is to try to scare people. They love to scare people, and it's very easy to do in the United States of pants shitters, because we are easily scared people. And they've drummed up this hatred of Iran, and I think if they can pass that treaty, and we can get reports periodically from inspectors that they're not building a nuclear weapon, I think we'll be okay. By the way, the president of Iran said, recently, he said, just so you know, Iran as a country has never invaded anybody, and we never will. Can you imagine an American president saying that? It's like saying, I'm having sex with a chicken.
I told a tiny lie.
We're going to end on that. Sex with a chicken. Thank you very much, everybody.